Everyone, I'm Mr. Smith, it's Friday, Paraskeria, and today we're looking at the verbs to drink in Georgian from our perspective, when we drink, or when you drink, or indeed when you, sir, drink. All those things are going to be covered in this video, our fourth video on the verbs to drink in Georgian. So, if you're ready, let's go. Slide 1 looks very much like the first slide from video 31 where I talked about my habits, me vsvam. In fact, it is almost identical. But vsvamt, that T sound, is us. Ჩვენ, medashen, ertad, vsvamt. We're drinking something. And then, of course, we should name what we're drinking. This can also comment on what we usually drink. That does rely on the fact that I know a lot about you to make such a comment. Right? Remember when I talked about my drinking habits, I didn't have to ask a lot of questions. And here you might need to. Actually, there's a question at the bottom which I've included because actually it suddenly becomes more relevant. But let's just get to the main grammar. Ჩვენ vsvamt, we are drinking. Ჩვენ vsvamdit, we were drinking. We're not drinking anymore. Adre, ჩვენ vsvamdit, can mean that we used to drink something and we no longer drink it. Again, that second variant comments on our relationship. If I don't know anything about you, I can't really comment on what you used to do, logically, right? Using sma. Now, in the past, simple past, daleva is the verb, davliet, medashen, ჩვენ davliet, ჩვენ ar davliet, we did or didn't drink, and we're talking about one moment in the past. Chef's feet, I have to laugh, it always makes me think of chef's feet. I simply don't use it that much. I know that it's connected with the idea of partaking a little bit, not a whole bottle, having a try, not the whole element of drinking as a activity, but let's just say chef's feet is the correct conjugation. Davlevt, we'll drink. Ar davlevt, we won't drink. Easy as that. Vsvamt, again, into the same category as the other one. Not so frequent, but still there. The fact that they are synonyms is interesting because, in fact, they do have a different meaning to Georgians, although they technically are the same. English is identical in this concept. We've got synonyms that have separate functions when they're used together. I mentioned before, if I say that I'm ill and I'm sick, it's the same thing. But if I say to you, I'm not going to work tomorrow because I'm off sick, I'm not going to work tomorrow because I'm off ill, the second one doesn't actually work. It doesn't mean anything, even though they both mean the same. So just be aware of that, but let's just use the ones which are of high frequency at this level. Davliet, medashen ertad, davlevt, we are going to do that. The question I needed to ask here was, what are we going to drink? What shall we drink? There's an element here where it might be desirable and I need to check with you. So there is a question here. Radavliot aba. Radavliot. Achla, radavliot aba. What are we going to drink? What are we feeling like? What do we fancy? That kind of question hasn't been explored really in the optative tense, not at all. It's something which will be required when we step into the A2 level more than anything, but it is relevant at this stage to include that question because I'm no longer alone and I'm not talking about somebody else. So this is the first slide. The second slide will look at the plural form with very similar changes. Slide 2 looks a lot like slide 1 from video 32, and that's because shen svam is now tkwen svamt, coming to the point of shen char, tkwen chart. The present of this T cannot be avoided. It's in the first slide, it's coming back in this one. There is a tutorial number 3, where I look at from an English language perspective the T sounds, the various sounds they have in Georgian and English so that we can separate the two. And I do recommend watching both of those videos before you approach this one because it gets tricky. So let's get to this one, okay? Tkwen svamt. That can be either madam or sir, right? It's formal. Bat ono, svamt. Kal bat ono, svamt. I might be talking to a group of people in front of me. Თქვენ svamt, same thing, same word, different thing. It might be a very formal situation. So in the plural case, it could be either formal or basically friends. The bottom line is that it's the quantity of people that now takes Თქვენ swampt. It has that dimension, those three dimensions. Ra swampt. You, sir, what are you drinking? Or you as a group, depending on how I see it. The answer will basically need the S, like it does in the question. So, Თქვენ swampt rzis, for example. You're drinking milk, could be my example here. Milk, whatever. It needs the S. Skals, from skali, you know? Just see it from the S is in the present tense. I can see it. The next one is in the past. You were drinking this. That's what my observation is. Adres swam dit, Თქვენ, magram achla, agar swamt. In this case, I'm making an observation what you used to do, and now what is current behavior for you. That is actually me talking about you, so I must know you quite well. Question is, why am I talking about you in a very formal way? Don't know. But we don't know, like on this case, maybe I'm talking to a police officer. Another observation before we move to the next level is that you are also Თქვენ. When maybe a police officer or a doctor or maybe in a restaurant scenario talk to you, they're going to use Თქვენ. It could but also be the parents of your friend. It could be many scenarios. It could be a job interview. You become Თქვენ. When you're with your friends, you're a group. Ჩვენ. But when they talk to you, Თქვენ is the reference. That's what you're going to hear. So just remember, Თქვენ, of course, addresses the person in front, but you are also the person in front. You're going to hear it actively or passively. You might be Თქვენ. Daleva, in the past, daliet. Daliet, ar daliet. Თქვენ, daliet, ludi. Თქვენ, ar daliet, ღვინო. Here the S is not necessary, it's in the ergative, it's not needed. Here, shesvit, Თქვენ shesvit. Interestingly enough, this verb, because of its low frequency, kind of adds a little elegance to it, and it might actually fit more formally than it does normally. So just be aware of that. Dalevt, Თქვენ, dalevt, Თქვენ, ar dalevt. You will drink. You will drink. Sir, madam, group. Your friends. You'll drink, and then tell me what it's going to be. Shesvampt, of course, again, with that level of formality here, it might actually make a little bit more sense. As a general plural, it might not be so frequent. And so that's really the main observations that need to be considered before we do the examples in slide number 3. Slide 3, let's practice. And in this scenario, I'm drinking with my friends, and someone comes and interrupts us, basically, to ask about what we're doing. During the conversation, we realize that we don't agree with what we drink. We don't drink the same things, we actually have opposite opinion. But because of the way we handled it and our good use of Თქვენ, that the conversation ends lightly, and so we inform each other, and let's just say c'est la vie and life moves on. Okay? So, ra swampt Თქვენ? Asking us. Ჩვენ lūdz swampt. We're drinking beer. Ჩვენ ყოველთვის swampt lūdz. Rādgan ღვინოს არ swampt. Თქვენ? მე lūdz arastros swam, მაგრამ ხანდახან ღვინოს swam. მე lūdz arastros swam, მაგრამ ხანდახან ღვინოს swam. Fine. We love drinking beer, you don't. We don't like drinking wine, you do. And that's how the conversation ends. Nachwandis. Pleased to meet you, you know? Last dialogue is in the narrative, ergative tense. It's too late. Yesterday, I drank a ton of wine. My head is pounding, and somebody's now asking me about it, and then I want to talk to my friend who's not in the room about last night. That's the scenario. I hear, Ra daliet, gushin ra daliet, Თქვენ. Maybe they're being a little bit sarcastic. Maybe they're just using Თქვენ to be nice. But the bottom line is, Dzaliam bevri ღვინო davliet. Dzaliam bevri, donobit ღვინო davliet. I'm suggesting that I wasn't alone with davliet. I'm not implicating this other person. Again, it's the context that drives it. This tiny alteration, davliet, includes my friend, and then in fact I'm curious to find out how my friend is. გიო რა დავლიეთ ხel თავი მისკდება გიო რა დავლიეთ ხel თავი მისკდება What did we drink last night? My head is exploding, pounding like a drum. And my answer? Რა არ დავლიეთ მთელი დღე მხოლოდ წყალს დავლევ What didn't we drink? The whole day I'm going to drink just water. Meds. Me too. Okay? Good. So here we can see that we didn't use ras because our narrative is in the past. And of course, the reference here to ღვინო didn't need an S because again, here in this ergative tense, I don't need a dative because it's done and it's over. And we're using daleva to describe drinking and boozing. That is the last slide of today, and I know what you're thinking. We haven't discussed the third person plural yet, which means what they drink or what they drank. And the reason for that is that I just didn't want to do it. No, I'm joking. The reason for that is that I am going to be looking at this from the angle of eating too in a completely separate video. So the next coming weeks, we're going to focus only on chama, which is the verb to eat. But before that, and next week coming, we're doing another reading challenge, which is all about a very popular reading story that reminds us of the ergative and just to have a little bit of fun with Georgian before we get into our next verb transformation. So, see you then. Bye.